have a report from the hospital social worker from just hours before the doctor contacted CPS, which concluded that CPS did not need to be involved. She did not feel Emmett was in any imminent danger. Emmett was placed in foster care due to the attorneys that did absolutely nothing and didn't submit any of the supporting evidence. He's now going to be adopted by strangers.
Our regular co-host Cynthia Becker is back in the hospital, so please keep her in your prayers. We hope that she's going to return next week. But in the meantime, we have our fill-in co-host, Erin Carranza. Erin, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Erin is a mother, a CPS victim, and she also has her own Facebook group or site.
Yes.
Erin, tell us about that.
It's called the CPS Family Reunification Coaching and Motivation. So since being a victim of CPS through this whole process, I realized that nobody tells you how to do anything or how to have good visits or gives you any information. So I wanted to change that, to help other parents, to help other grandparents have a good visit. So I will be giving tricks and little secrets and that sort of thing on my own show on Mondays and Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. But just education, I think, helps and goes a long way with people, especially in this time.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Let's get to our calls because the board is already full. Let's talk to Alita from Ohio. Alita, did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
A little bit of both.
Go for it.
I have a story about my grandson. He's in Los Angeles County. He was born February 2nd, 2020. I believe he spoke to his mom last week, but she got some facts mixed up, so I wanted to clarify a bunch of it. She was GBS positive, and she received antibiotics during labor. Emmett was born with an APGAR of 8 and 8. He was full term. The only complication at birth was he was cyanotic. They put him in the NICU for a 4-hour observation, upon which the doctor claimed to have witnessed an apnea episode. Although it's not charted anywhere, nor was there a charting of dropped O2 saturation, increased heart rate, or anything to show any kind of distress. At that point, he was put on CPAP and an NG tube for P.M feedings and 2 antibiotics, gentamicin and ampicillin. The concern was that the alleged respiratory distress could be a sign of sepsis, so the antibiotics were ordered as well as cultures. After almost 2 days, my son started asking a lot of questions and taking pictures. He wanted the feeding tube removed because it was irritating Emmett. There was no reason that he couldn't be bottle fed. He also wanted the antibiotics stopped because the gentamicin required blood draws before and after the administration of the medication. The cultures were coming back negative for infection. There was no signs of any or symptoms of any kind to suggest an infection. So Anthony did ask that it be stopped. At no point did they refuse respiratory care. In no way was the antibiotics life-threatening. However, it was reported to the judge that Emmett's parents were preventing and impeding life-saving treatment, requiring an emergency hold and not allowing him to go home to his nursery in his bed and his parents, but rather he's placed in foster care. The hospital claimed that my son was violent and threatening. There was an episode which they refused to let him in the NICU. During shift change, he banged on the door. He was escorted off the property. A couple of days later, a nurse was trying to open something, couldn't find her scissors. My son offered for her to use his pocket knife. The nurse told security that he was being annoying and told other staff and CPS that he threatened her with a knife. It was reported to the judge that he was threatening to several members of the staff. However, we have a report from the security guard that spoke to her and a nurse that witnessed the event that will corroborate my son's version of events and also states that my son was extremely apologetic, calm, cooperative, and not showing any sign of violence. However, the report was submitted to the court that he was threatening them with a knife. Emmett's meconium was positive for cannabis. It was reported to the judge that it was because of her use of marijuana during pregnancy that caused Emmett's medical problems, when in fact she tested negative. She quit smoking weed when she found out she was pregnant. Even though she quit when she was around 18 weeks, it stays in the meconium. I have a report from the hospital social worker from just hours before the doctor contacted CPS, which concluded that CPS did not need to be involved. She did not feel Emmett was in any imminent danger. Emmett was placed in foster care due to the attorneys that did absolutely nothing and didn't submit any of the supporting evidence. He's now going to be adopted by strangers.
So
I don't know what I need help.
well, wait a minute.
He has a permanent placement hearing coming up in June. Myself and my sister have asked to be considered for placement. They're not even considering us.
Okay, so the child was detained at the hospital then months ago, then, right? And the case started months ago.
In February of 2020.
Okay.
He's never been home.
All right. And the parents haven't been able to get the child back?
No.
Do you know why?
They want, well, according to my son's lawyer, because they wanted him to admit fault. They wanted him to admit
fault for what?
I don't know. I really don't know why. I know that they haven't been allowed to go to court because of the COVID, and I don't know why there was no trial. I don't know why none of that happened. I really don't.
You said their case is somewhere in California, correct?
My son, yes. My son lives in California.
Okay.
I'm the grandmother.
You just happen to be in Ohio.
Yeah, I live in Ohio, correct.
Okay. So do you know when the next court date is and what type of hearing it is?
It's the permanent placement hearing in June.
Okay, so that term is kind of a misnomer. Is it the hearing to terminate the family reunification services, or is
They have already done that.
Okay, so they've already done that. Did your son appeal or the mother appeal at any time at any of these hearings?
No, that's what I'm saying. The lawyers didn't do anything for them. They did nothing.
Okay.
My son and my daughter-in-law, like they don't know the law. They don't understand how that works.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So this is what I would suggest based upon what you've told me, and the case being in California. The mother and or the father should talk to their attorneys about filing a 388 petition so that perhaps this train wreck can be stopped or diverted. You and all the rest
Right.
of the relatives who want to have this child should be filing 388s for placement. And if you live out of
Right.
state, you need to be asking for an ICPC, which is the Interstate Compact for the Placement of Children. And you need to get
Right.
approved by the social worker in your home state. And you need to do it on an expedited basis. And you need to get these things filed quickly because a June hearing is right around the corner. And once the
Right.
parents' rights are terminated, all right, you're no longer the
Mm-hmm.
grandmother. Okay?
Right.
So, this is one of those cases where I tell people all the time, and, very few people listen to me. You're the grandmother out in Ohio, and maybe you thought at the beginning social workers would do the right thing and place the child with you or another relative. That doesn't
Right.
happen. And then you go see a lawyer, and a lot of time has gone by. Unfortunately, valuable time has gone by so that you can make the move to get the child. Now, what's going to happen is if you make the move, I see a lot of courts deciding, well, the child's been with the foster parents all this time, and it'd be detrimental to remove the child, right?
Right. He's actually only been with the current foster family since it hasn't been since February. He was with my cousin for most of the time. It's only been about 6 months that he's been with the foster family that wants to adopt him.
Yeah, 6 months though is kind of like the magic number for placement of children with foster parents. Hey, Alita?
I mean, I don't even understand how it got to this point. They didn't do anything wrong.
Right, right. That's the problem. It's a very sad story, and if your family loses this child, it will be a travesty. Alita, I want to thank you for calling and thank you for listening. My engineer is telling me we have to take our first break of the evening. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Services and Win, and we'll be back with more calls after these messages.